There are a lot of ships in the Rebel fleet, and one of the more memorable modern additions to it is the Hammerhead Corvette. Evoking an older KOTOR design, this bulky ship quickly became a fan favorite after getting a moment in the spotlight in Rogue One. Today we are going to go over its design, specifications, and history. I am Joey from Radio Free Coruscant, and this is everything there is to know about the Hammerhead Corvette. Design. The Sphyrna-class Hammerhead Corvette, also known as the C-80 Corvette, was a fairly standard Corellian Engineering Corporation design. It was somewhat more industrial than CEC's other Corvette designs like the CR-90 or the Consular Cruiser, and its robust construction made it very useful as a freighter or light warship. It was intended to carry goods and passengers safely, comfortably, and without the need for additional escort ships. It had a long cylindrical body with a tall vertical tower at the front and a triangular cluster of 3 engines at the rear. In front of the engines, it also had a pair of horizontal docking tubes extending wide enough to clear the ship's engines. On the neck of the ship, behind the namesake Hammerhead, it had a ventral external cargo rack that could be lowered all the way to the ground to load. The ship's vertical bow contained the bridge from which it was commanded, as well as small crew berths and passenger staterooms. Most of the rest of the interior of the Hammerhead was taken up by cargo and engineering spaces, though like all CEC designs it was highly modular and could be reconfigured to fit other mission profiles. For example, it could be used as a diplomatic craft, and if so, some of these spaces could be turned into offices and meeting rooms. Later in the Hammerhead's service life, a combat refit was introduced that slightly adjusted the ship's proportions and made several significant alterations to its capabilities. A 4th engine was mounted on top of the other 3 for greater speed, and 2 weapon pods were attached to the docking rings. The external cargo rack and cargo lift were removed, and 6 additional escape pods were added in its place. In real life, the Sphyrna-class was created as an homage to the Hammerhead-class cruiser from the Legends video game Knights of the Old Republic. While the design is very different in most respects, and the Sphyrna is less than half the size of the original Hammerhead, I'm sure you can see what part they took inspiration from. Also, the ship is named after the Sphyrna genus of hammerhead sharks, which apparently received a new member a couple months ago. Sphyrna alleni, the shovelbill shark, was discovered to be a separate species from its close relative the bonnethead shark, and these findings were published in late September 2024. Not really relevant to the topic at hand, but I thought you'd think it was interesting anyway. Specifications. The Hammerhead Corvette measured 116.7 meters long. The original model measured 38.9 meters wide by 55.7 meters tall, and the refit measured 51.5 meters wide and 40.5 meters tall. It was said to have a top speed of 900 kilometers per hour, powered by 3 or 4 RSD-88D-2 Bright Star Ion engines. I'm not sure if that is for the 3-engine version or the 4-engine version, but presumably adding an entire engine would affect its top speed dramatically. It had a Class 3 hyperdrive plus a backup Class 15. The original model was armed with 2 forward heavy laser cannons and a dorsal twin light turbo laser, and the refit added an additional 4 twin light turbo lasers on the outboard weapon pods. A custom version known as the Torpedo Corvette added additional photon torpedo launchers as well. All versions of the ship had a crew of 46, plus 36 diplomats if it was set up as a diplomatic craft. It could also carry 125 passengers, 6 months of consumables, and at least 22,833 metric tons of cargo. All of that added up to give it a price tag of 1 million credits. History. The Sphyrna-class Hammerhead Corvette entered service sometime before the CR-90 did, probably in 35 BBY or earlier. It was designed by CEC and built by Rendili Stardriver. It was moderately popular among shipping companies, pirates, and smugglers, who all valued its sturdy construction and enormous cargo capacity. Eventually, during the Galactic Civil War, the Sphyrna would attract the attention of the Rebel Alliance as well. The first Rebel cell known to operate hammerheads was the Phoenix Cell, which received 3 of them from the Royal House of Alderaan: Lightmaker, Amity's Arrow, and Duchess Senna, also known as P1, P2, and P3. Lightmaker was P1, but we don't know which of the other 2 names corresponds to each of the other 2 numbers. Princess Leia delivered them personally, though the rebels had to steal them from her to avoid alerting the Empire that the Organas were aiding the rebellion. Not that that would have been a surprise to them. Of these 3 hammerheads, Lightmaker was upgraded to the combat refit sometime between the battles of Atollon and Scarif. P2 was destroyed in the Battle of Atollon, and P3 survived Atollon and escaped to Yavin, but its fate afterward is unknown. Going back to the Lightmaker, that ship is likely the most famous individual hammerhead corvette in the galaxy. During the Battle of Scarif, it was captained by Cato O'Quone, who rammed it into the disabled Star Destroyer Persecutor under the orders of Admiral Raddus. The ship's upgraded engines and durable frame allowed it to push that Star Destroyer into ISD Intimidator, destroying both Imperial ships and knocking one into the shield gate below, disrupting the planetary shield and allowing the ground team's transmission of the Death Star plans to come through to Raddus and Leia. Unfortunately, while the Lightmaker survived the initial collision, its structural integrity was badly compromised, and its bow was hopelessly entangled in the side of the Persecutor, and the Lightmaker had to be abandoned. 2 other hammerheads were present for the Battle of Scarif as well. One was the RHA Consonance, another Alderaanian hammerhead, and the other one was unknown, but I assume that was probably P3. The Consonance survived the battle and escaped just before the arrival of ISD Devastator, and the other hammerhead's fate is unknown but presumed destroyed. Rumors of the Battle of Scarif, and especially the humble hammerhead taking down 2 Star Destroyers without even firing a single shot, began to circulate through certain circles in the galaxy. Perhaps this was what inspired a couple of incidents involving ramming hammerheads. In one, a shipping company owner in deep financial trouble planned to use one of his company's hammerheads to ram and break into one of the Imperial Central Bank's Erodium vaults, though he didn't go through with it. In another, an eccentric engineer attempted to mount a ship-sized vibroblade to the hammerhead's bow to maximize its ramming potential. This modification had what is only described as unforeseen consequences, which to me implies that the ship shook itself apart. For the most part, though, the Sphyrna-class continued to be used as a warship, transport, scout ship, and tug, exactly as the manufacturer intended. The Rebellion continued to use hammerheads throughout the Civil War, but with their stocks dwindling after Atollon and Scarif, it was not as common a sight in the Rebel fleet as the CR-90. However, after the war, the New Republic purchased many more Sphyrnas, and they became a staple of the New Republic fleet. The Resistance eventually inherited a few of these. One of them, the Sturdic Star, was destroyed in 31 ABY in the incident that led to C-3PO having a red arm for a short time. Many more hammerheads, mostly civilian-owned, were also present for the Battle of Exegol. And that's everything there is to know about the Hammerhead Corvette. Let me know what you think of the ship, and if you prefer the original chunkier design seen in Rebels, or the sleeker version seen in Rogue One, Ahsoka, and other live-action works. I kinda go back and forth on it personally, but for the most part I think I like the live-action one just a little bit more. I would really love to see a stock 3-engine Hammerhead in live action with the updated proportions someday, though. But anyway, that's the Hammerhead. Thank you for watching and for subscribing to the channel. I will see you next week. RFC